Gather around, my children, gather around. Curtis here bringing you another Magic the Gathering commentary produced by Green Carpet Media. We're moving to Set 2, Game 1, where we are going to be watching the self-titled player The Champ take on newcomer J-Rags, and another best 2 out of 3. If you're worried about missing Set 1, Game 2, don't be. We are currently editing the content and it should be out shortly. But first, before we move into the game, let me quickly explain something about the player interface you'll be seeing throughout the rest of our video, which I didn't explain in Set 1. Now to skip any introduction from here on out and jump right into the game, you can click the green button down at the bottom. For viewers that are on a smartphone or tablet, the time that the game starts will be displayed inside the button so you can manually skip this introduction. Now for viewers who are interested in learning a little bit more about the decks and the players, you can click the yellow button down below. The time will also be displayed for smartphone and tablet users. On the player icons, the red gem that will be displayed next to the player's avatar will indicate a player's life or health total. The gray gem that will be displayed is the number of creatures in that player's graveyard. This gray gem is actually the only gem that is subject to change colors in different matches. For example, in our pilot episode, this gem was colored green, represented poison counters. Also, this gem might be excluded from the interface, or sometimes you might see several different colors. Now for the bottom squares, the left square indicates the number of cards in that player's hand, and the right square represents the number of cards in that player's library. Alright, enough of this boring stuff, let's get into talking about the players and the decks. Now this set is going to be a battle of self-mutilation, as both these players will be playing with decks that try to either exile or destroy their creatures to pull out bigger ones, or to grow creatures already on the battlefield. It appears we have a theme going with these Dark Ascension intro decks: destroy what you have to gain something better. Interesting concept, but let's dive a little bit deeper into the details, shall we? Now the champ will be playing with the black-white deck Dark Sacrifice, which will consist of 3 primary creature types: vampires, spirits, and humans. Let me tell you, being a human creature type in this deck is bad news, because the champ will be looking to sacrifice you as quickly as possible to gain additional power. And of course we can't forget about our new contender J-Rags, who will be playing with the blue-black deck Relentless Dead, which will consist of all zombies and of course one holographic human wizard card. This deck will focus on mobilizing a giant unstoppable zombie death force to overwhelm the opposition. The true highlight of this deck is Diagraph Captain, who will be beefing up other zombie creatures with +1/+1 counters. This card also makes killing your zombie creatures hazardous to your opponent's life total. Now the winner of this set will move on to play the winner of Set 1, which means we are excluding Monstrous Surprise from this tournament, so sorry to you Green, Red, Undying fans, but due to time constraints and the fact that we're starting this tournament in the middle of the Dark Ascension release means that we'll have to cut our time short. Alright, it looks like these players are shoveled up and ready to begin. They are going to be rolling the bones to determine who is going to start this game off, and it looks like J-Rags will be making the primary decision as to whether he wants to play or draw first, as he beats the champ 4-1 in the dice roll. He is of course opting to play first, and these players will draw their initial hand. Now if they decide they don't feel comfortable with their starting hand, they can opt for mulligan, which means they will shuffle their current hand back into their library and redraw 6 cards. And it looks like both the champ and J-Rags will be taking the mulligan down to 6. This is quite strange because it looked like the champ's starting hand wasn't too terrible. She had 3 lands, 2 of which were white, and an early Doomed Traveler, which is a 1-drop. Maybe she didn't feel secured enough in her hand due to the fact that she didn't draw a swamp. In any case, both these players' hands are looking pretty strong on their second attempt. I would be really surprised to see mulligan down to 5 for either of these players. Alright, it looks like both are satisfied, and to start us off, J-Rags will be playing an island, passing his turn over to the champ, who will draw a Doomed Traveler. This is an excellent draw for the champ. Doomed Traveler can provide some good defense and some effective early game harassment. But let's take a closer look at this card. Doomed Traveler is a 1/1 human soldier creature with a somewhat pesky ability. When this card dies, put a 1/1 white spirit token with flying into play. This is a very interesting effect. It's fairly similar to the ability Undying, but instead of getting a +1/+1 counter, this creature essentially gains flying. Over on J-Rags' side, he has drawn an island and played a swamp. He will be summoning Screeching Scab, which is a 2/1 zombie creature, and when this card enters the battlefield, the owner of Screeching Scab must put the top 2 cards of his library into his graveyard. J-Rags will be placing Abattoir Ghoul and a swamp into his graveyard, and pass his turn over to the champ, who should be looking to get rid of that scab as fast as possible. She doesn't want J-Rags to acquire a huge zombie mob, and one less zombie in play could mean all the difference in this matchup. She's going to draw Elgod Inquisitor and tap her lands to pull out Gather the Townsfolk, which is a sorcery that allows you to put 2 1/1 white human creature tokens into play. Since she doesn't have any human tokens, she'll be substituting in 2 1/1 white soldier tokens instead. The champ is going to attack J-Rags with her Traveler, and J-Rags is going to block the Traveler with his Scab. Since both these creatures deal at least 1 damage and both have a toughness of 1, they will both be sent to their owner's graveyards. And since the Traveler died, the champ will be putting a 1/1 spirit token into play, and will be passing her turn. J-Rags is going to untap his cards and draw Deadweight, and the Chant creature card that can come in handy in case the champ's creatures start getting out of control. He's going to play a swamp, tap his lands, and play Walking Corpse. This is a 2/2 zombie creature with no special abilities. He'll pass his turn back over to the champ, who will most likely be looking to go on the offensive this turn. She draws Falkenrath Torture, and she'll have enough lands to play the Torture this turn if she chooses to. She plays a swamp and taps her lands in order to pull out Village Cannibals. This is a 2/2 human creature with a pretty cool passive ability. Whenever another human creature dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Village Cannibals. So like I said in the introduction, the more times you kill your humans, the more power you will receive. Now this is the perfect time for the champ to attack. Either J-Rags is going to let the tokens through and take 3 damage so the cannibals don't gain a +1/+1 counter, or he'll have to block one of the human tokens, lowering the damage he'll take to 2, but the cannibals will turn into a 3/3 creature at the end of combat. Looks like J-Rags has chosen the latter, and he will be taking 2 damage and the cannibals will be gaining a +1/+1 counter. Back over to J-Rags' side, he has drawn his Diagraph Captain and will likely be looking to activate this card as quickly as possible. He plays an island and taps his lands to play Diagraph Captain, who, like I said before, is the highlight of this deck. This card doesn't have 1, not 2, but 3 great abilities. First, it has the keyword ability, Death Touch. Whenever this card deals combat damage to a creature, it is enough to kill that creature no matter what its toughness. It also gives other zombie creatures +1/+1, and whenever another zombie you control dies, target opponent loses 1 life. Now that's a pretty awesome card, and it is used in most professional zombie decks. J-Rags is also going to play his dead weight on the village cannibals. This will lower the cannibals' power and toughness to 1/1. J-Rags feels secure enough to attack with his 3/3 corpse, and it looks like the champ has decided to take the 3 damage opposed to blocking with her cannibals, and that will take her health down to 17 points, ending J-Rags' turn. In my opinion, it was a smart move not blocking with the cannibals. The champ has a lot of human creatures and a lot of spells that create human tokens, which means plenty of tasty morsels for her cannibals. She definitely wants to see this card grow and potentially end up being one of her late game sluggers. The champ has drawn a swamp and played that swamp. She tapped all her lands to pull out Elgod Inquisitor, a 2/2 human cleric creature with 2 abilities. The first being the keyword ability Lifelink. Whenever this creature deals damage, the control of the Inquisitor gains life equal to the damage dealt. The second ability is the same as Doomed Travelers. When this card dies, put a spirit token into play. The champ is going to be attacking with her 1/1 spirit token, and since J-Rags has nothing to deal with flying, he'll be taking 1 damage, tying this game up at 17 all. And the champ will end her turn. We can see now that J-Rags is sitting on the sorcery card Moan of the Unhallowed, which he can play this turn if he chooses. He draws another walking corpse and will be tapping his lands to pull out his sorcery Moan of the Unhallowed, which will allow J-Rags to put 2/2 zombie creature tokens onto the battlefield. However, if this game persists late enough, he'll be able to use Moan of the Unhallowed's flashback ability to summon 2 more zombie tokens. The flashback ability allows a player to play a card from their graveyard for its flashback cost, and in the case of Moan of the Unhallowed, it's 5 colorless mana and 2 black mana. And after the card is played, it'll be exiled rather than going back to the player's graveyard. Alright, back to the game. J-Rags is attacking with his walking corpse, who remember now is a 3/3. And it looks like the champ will be chump blocking the corpse with her human token, and since the corpse has both greater power and toughness, that will be sending the champ's human token back to her token bench. Because the human token is considered a human creature, the cannibals will gain an additional +1/+1 counter, bringing their power and toughness to 2/2. J-Rags will then pass his turn over to the champ, and to be perfectly honest, she should be feeling a little bit nervous at this point. J-Rags has acquired a sizable zombie militia and can block almost all of the champ's creatures with no problem. Nevertheless, she has drawn another swamp and has played that swamp. She'll be tapping 2 lands to pull out her second Gather the Townsfolk, and remember with this sorcery, she'll be able to put 2 1/1 white human tokens onto the battlefield. These will definitely make for a good defense in case J-Rags decides to attack next turn. It looks like she is tapping additional lands to play her Falkenrath Torturer, who is a 2/1 vampire creature. And if you sacrifice another creature, the Torturer will gain flying until end of turn. But wait, that's not all. If the sacrificed creature was a human, the Torturer will also gain a +1/+1 counter, but unlike the flying, the +1/+1 will not fall off at the end of the champ's turn. It looks like the champ will once again attack with her spirit token, and since J-Rags still doesn't have any flyer defense, he'll be taking 1 damage, lowering his health to 16 and giving the champ the lead. She will then pass her turn over to J-Rags, and I believe the strategy for this turn is simple. Force the champ to block your zombies, wiping her forces off the battlefield, leaving the majority, if not all of yours, ready to attack next turn. J-Rags has drawn Headless Scab, a 3/6 zombie creature with no special abilities, and will be tapping his lands to place the Scab onto the battlefield. Now the Scab enters the battlefield tapped, and the controller must exile a creature from his graveyard as an additional cost to play the Scab. And it appears that J-Rags will be exiling his Screeching Scab and go on the offensive. He'll be attacking with 3 3/3 zombies, putting the champ in an awkward situation. She has the option of blocking all the zombies, but leaving herself very thin on creatures, due to the fact that all of her blocking creatures will be destroyed. And it looks like she'll be chump blocking all the zombies. She has assigned 2 of the human tokens to block 2 of the zombie tokens, and the Inquisitor will be blocking the corpse. It's a battle of human versus zombies, and it looks like the zombies are going to have the upper hand in this skirmish, as all the humans will be destroyed at the end of combat. Now since Elgod Inquisitor died, the champ will be replacing him with the spirit token. She'll avoid losing health points from this attack and will be gaining 2 life from the Inquisitor's 2 damage onto the corpse. This brings her life total to 19. She'll also be pumping the cannibal's power and toughness to 5/5 due to the fact that 3 human creatures just died. J-Rags will pass the turn over to the champ, who will need to find a way to deal with that Diagraph Captain as quickly as possible. She's drawn the artifact equipment Demon Mail Hauberk and will be tapping her lands to play the artifact. Demon Mail Hauberk is, like I said before, an artifact equipment, and to equip this card to a creature, you must sacrifice another creature. The creature that becomes equipped will gain a +4/+2. I'm interested to see what creature the champ will put this on, but it looks like she'll be opting to attack with her 2 spirit tokens instead, dealing 2 damage to J-Rags, lowering his life total to 14. He still has no answer to that champ's flyers. It's interesting she didn't sacrifice one of her spirits to equip Demon Mail to the other spirit, essentially making the equipped spirit a 5/3 flyer doing 3 more damage than what she actually did. She will, however, end up sacrificing one of her spirits to equip her cannibals, which will now increase their power and toughness to a terrifying 9/7. This means J-Rags has to consider leaving at least 1 zombie other than Diagraph to block next turn. J-Rags will draw and play a swamp. He's going to tap 2 swamps for 2 black mana and play another walking corpse, and of course give the corpse a +1/+1 counter due to Diagraph's passive ability. Now the corpse that J-Rags just put into play has Summoning Sickness, so he can't attack this turn, but will make for an excellent defender if the champ decides to attack with her cannibals next turn. He's going to attack the champ with a sizable zombie force. It looks like there's about 13 damage coming her way if I'm not mistaken. She has a few options here, but has decided only to block the scab with her cannibals. And as you can see, the cannibals will overwhelm the scab in both power and toughness. This means the scab will go to J-Rags' graveyard, while the rest of the zombies will make it through dealing a whopping 9 damage, bringing the champ's life total down to 10. J-Rags also points out that since the scab was a zombie and ended up dying, Diagraph's passive ability will trigger, and remember the triggered ability is whenever another zombie creature J-Rags controls dies, target opponent loses 1 health. So it looks like the champ will actually be dropping to 9 health points. J-Rags has ended his turn and has officially taken the lead. The champ will need to do some quick thinking, or top deck. She has drawn up plains. She'll play the plains and go in with her 9/7 cannibals. Which J-Rags surprisingly doesn't block and will be opting to take 9 damage from the cannibals instead of blocking with his 3/3 zombie, dropping his health points to 5. I don't know if this was a mistake, but J-Rags is walking on thin ice. We're over to J-Rags' side, and I'm really curious to see what he's thinking on this turn. He needs to force that Torture to block his zombies, or else the champ can simply use the Torture's ability to sacrifice her cannibals and become a 3/2 with flying, and that might spell trouble for J-Rags. He's attacking with only 3/3 zombies, and the champ will simply chump block 1 zombie token with her spirit token. This means she'll only be taking 6 damage. J-Rags will pass his turn and can only hope that the champ doesn't have anything that can deal more than 5 damage. She draws another Torture and will be tapping her lance to put the Torture onto the field. She'll use the Demon Mail's equip cost and sacrifice the Torture that just entered the battlefield to equip the other Torture. Now I believe the champ is pumping up the Torture because, yes, she'll be using the Torture's activated ability cost to sacrifice her cannibals, and since the cannibals were a human creature, the Torture will gain a +1/+1 in flying, turning this into a 7/4 flyer. And I believe that children, is going to be GG, as J-Rags still has no defense against the champ's Air Force. To be honest, I thought J-Rags had this game in the bag. He had the creature advantage and at one point even gained a life total advantage. He must have slipped up and forgot that his opponent's Torture could gain flying until end of turn. I think on J-Rags' last attacking phase that he should have attacked with all 4 of his zombies and left the Diagraph behind. This would have forced the champ to block with her Torture or end up losing the game. Of course, on J-Rags' next turn, he would have had to sacrifice his Diagraph Captain to block the cannibals, but he still would have had plenty of attacking power to finish the champ off his next turn. Just goes to show you one mistake in Magic could cost you the game. Well, thanks for tuning in and watching. We really appreciate your comments on our last videos. It really makes us happy to see that you guys are enjoying them. If you like this video in particular, check out our other 2 Magic the Gathering videos in the annotations, or you can also find the links in the description below. Our goal is to complete this small Dark Ascension tournament before Avacyn Restored drops on May 4th. We will also try to get more engaged with you guys by surveying your comments to see which decks and players you think will win in future tournaments. Now remember, if you guys enjoy playing or watching Magic the Gathering, feel free to visit your local comic book store every Friday for Friday Night Magic. This is a good way to get involved with other people to share your love for the game. You can also get all the Magic information you want on their website at wizards.com/magic. This is Curtis, signing out until next time.